Captain Schmidt. Actually live on Houston Parkway, and I thought that was kind of cool. I never knew that. That a lot of the roads that we live in the housing area are named after people who obviously perished during the battle or during the attack. So he was one of them. Basically, what he did is he stayed on board and he got all the rest of the sailors out. And as a result, he didn't make it through. One of the pretty sad stories about this that I found was that when the ship actually flipped upside down, there was a lot of sailors that were trapped underneath. The story behind that is basically, you know, on Sunday morning, they went out Saturday night, had a pretty good time. Everybody was kind of in their bunks to sleep. The reason why they actually were even in was because on Saturday they were actually out doing patrols around the island, which they were supposed to continue to do, but they got word that there was going to be an admiral inspection, so they pulled back in and they were going to prepare for that the next day. Obviously that never happened. So again, going back to the sailors, they were trapped underneath there. Some of them made it out. Some of them were trapped for 2 to 3 days before they made it out. And the story behind it, or the story goes that a lot of them obviously never made it out. But there was some sailors that were standing guard on the ship, and they could hear the tapping. And so eventually the tapping stopped. I found an interesting website, U.S.S. Oklahoma. You can go online, and you can actually find the entire story. It's got music and stuff of the time, stories that were told by some of the guys that were there firsthand. A little background too into the memorial itself. It actually was opened up or officially in 2007, today in 2007. And the story behind it is there's a guy named Kevin King who was actually from Oklahoma City. There was a memorial in Oklahoma in like 1998 that was established. And he came here in 2000 and saw that there was nothing for the U.S.S. Oklahoma. And he thought it was kind of a shame that this crew of guys, you know, weren't really remembered. They kind of got pushed to the side. Interestingly enough, where the Missouri 5th was actually where they went down. But long story short, the guy single-handedly got a bunch of people together, a bunch of donations, and over like a 5, 6, 7-year period, eventually this was built. Pretty awesome story just for one guy. He wasn't in the military or anything like that, but so in his heart, I guess, he recognized the guys that saw him that day. This poem actually was written, and I believe, I don't have proof, but I believe it was read during the actual ceremony when they opened it up in 2007. But I'm going to go ahead and go into it now. It's called the U.S.S. Oklahoma Veteran. Can everybody hear me? All right. We buried an old naval veteran today. His passing was quiet, far from that terrible affray. He had survived and done well in his final years, unlike his shipmates who perished in unfathomable fears. They were not supposed to be in port. They should have been out on patrol. Coming to Pearl for an admiral's inspection would bring a deadly toll. Sailors were sleeping in, not worried about the inspection order. Now hear this. This is not a drill. Sound general quarters. Chaplain Schmidt was headed for church call when the attack started. Within 11 minutes to his heavenly Father, he had departed. He was below deck helping injured sailors make it safely out. A place was waiting in heaven for the Padre, there is no doubt. Father Al would be the first chaplain to die in that world war, pushing injured sailors through a hatch. Move topside, he did in 4. He could have made it out alive if not for Navy protocol. Senior man stays until the end, directing escape for all. Private Joseph Loiter was on the fantail with his bugle ready to blow. After first call, he saw something flying in, straight and low. Corporal at the guard. Those are Jap planes flying just above the drink. Loiter, you get paid to blow that bugle, not sink. It was too late. The first torpedo slammed into the port side. Within minutes, more would strike the Okie's tough old hide. Too many hatches were left open in anticipation of the admiral's inspection, and it's easy in hindsight to see the error of this fatal leadership misdirection. The Oklahoma was senior, and she should have been moored and board. Putting her to the outside left the Okie open to the Japanese horde. This may have saved the Maryland from destruction on that December day, but it left one grand old dreadnought lying on the bottom of the bay. The U.S.S. Oklahoma was an older battleship from an earlier generation, With her 14-inch gun, she stood ready to defend the nation. She never fired a shot in anger, not even in the First World War. Now she's on the bottom of the ocean, her big guns never again to roar. Off Spain, the Oklahoma was there to protect Americans in harm's way. In this new war, she was lost to the Navy and the nation in the opening day. She rolled over in minutes with her keel raised to the Hawaiian sky. 420 men were trapped below and were destined to die. The Japanese sank the Oklahoma. A long list of crewmen they did call. As small boats were passing, banging was heard on her turned-up hull. She and Garland, Eslick, and 31 others were trapped in an artificial night. It would be 28 hours before they again saw the glow of daylight. With hammers and chisels, rescuers worked to pierce that dying ship. No cutting torches because life from seamen's lungs it would strip. The crewmen were dying as the water continued to rise on the ocean side. Work harder, work faster, they must feel away if the old girl's arms are tied. Airman Spider Webb had been on board the Oklahoma for just a day. He did not know where to go as he sprang from his rack where he lay. He would push himself through a porthole, that's all he could do, but the Japs would see Spider again over Pacific skies of blue. Spider Webb would go on to win his pilot wings of gold, taking on the enemy in the air to prove to be a man of bold. Dogfighting surrounded 40 Jap planes, creating a moment's thrill. But that day, he upped the score for the Oklahoma with 8 aircraft killed. The Barber brothers all joined the Navy to serve their nation with pride. The 3 shipped out on the Oklahoma, standing side by side. In the end, they all would be lost, with no remains to be returned. Leroy, Malcolm, and Randolph, respect from a grateful nation you earned. There were other brothers to serve and die on the Oklahoma that day. They all had a sad history in this new war to play. Lost forever were the brothers, Wood, Trapp, Thomas, Lynch, and Casco. Into heaven they ascended as a crew of small boats they did row. This is a real air raid. This is no shit. Not a standard shipboard broadcast, but it got the message out there quick. Ensign Herbert Rommel served his guns to 0 skins a day. But Captain Rommel would survive to fight and win another day. Over 1,300 crewmen were assigned to the Oklahoma on that sunny morn. Eventually, taps would be sounded for 429 on a bugler's sorrowful horn. The wounded would be pulled from the water and tended as heroes all. The rest of the crew would be reassigned to the suffering nation's call. The Oklahoma never returned to challenge her enemies to a fair fight. It took years at Pearl to right her and bring her deck to the light. She was sold off as scrap after they pulled from her those big guns. The U.S.S. Oklahoma was finally lost, sunken under tow in the Pacific sun. We must remember the Oklahoma for the crew. Their time is running out. It must be marked in stone to be preserved in a military redoubt. Ford Island will be the home, the memorial that will stand the test of time, where the naval veteran he can visit and say, I was there, she was mine. We buried an old veteran today, this one a shipmate who had seen that tragic December day. But he survived to meet his nation's demand, to seek justice for all. He fought hard for his nation, and now takes his final military call. We buried an old naval veteran today. Thank you.
429 crewmen lost their lives. Some of us have divisions, some of us are in charge of departments. You gotta understand, that's 429. That's bigger than any of one of the departments we have here. That's the whole crew just about. So today, I hope that y'all get something from it. That is more than just you getting promoted or selected to the next higher pay grade. It's about your heritage being in the United States Navy. That's why when they talk about that honor, courage, and commitment, it is something that needs to be dear to your heart. Whether you're out on liberty, whether you're at home with your loved ones, or wherever you may be.